Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. This is another B2 English listening and comprehension practice video. It's great to have you join me today. My aim with these videos is to provide you with plenty of authentic spoken English that you can use to train your ear, enhance your understanding of natural speech, pick up new vocabulary, and generally become more comfortable listening to English spoken at a native or near-native pace. Remember, you can just listen and absorb, or you can actively try to understand every single detail. Whatever way you choose to use these videos, consistent listening will definitely help you improve. Today, we're going to talk about a topic that is universally relatable and often a source of great pleasure and sometimes, frustration. That topic is cooking. Yes, cooking. Preparing food. Creating meals in your own kitchen. Now, right from the start, I need to be completely honest with you. I am not, by any stretch of the imagination, a good cook. I wish I could tell you that. I have hidden talents in the kitchen, that I can whip up gourmet meals with ease, but that simply isn't true. My relationship with cooking is complicated. I know how to cook in the most basic sense. I can follow a simple recipe, I won't burn the house down, usually, and I can make edible food to survive. But do I have flair? Do I have intuition? In the kitchen? Do I find it enjoyable or relaxing? No, not really. It's more of a functional activity for me. I see it as a necessary task to produce food to eat, rather than a creative outlet or a hobby. Because of this lack of skill, and frankly, lack of genuine interest in the process of cooking itself, I wouldn't say I know a whole lot about the intricate techniques or the finer points of culinary arts. I'm not the person who experiments with different spices, tries complex methods, or spends hours perfecting a sauce. That's just not me. So, you might be wondering, if I don't cook well and don't particularly enjoy it, why am I talking about cooking today? Well, here's the key. While I might not be talented at cooking, I absolutely, unequivocally love eating. And I love talking about food in general. I find the subject of food fascinating. Its cultural significance, the history of different dishes, the science behind flavors, the sensory experience of eating. I appreciate good food immensely, and I love trying new dishes and different cuisines from around the world. So even though I'm not wielding the pots and pans myself, I have a deep appreciation for the results of good cooking, and I definitely have opinions on what tastes good. And luckily for me, and for my stomach, I am married to someone who is an absolutely fantastic cook. My wife, thankfully, does not share my culinary shortcomings. In fact, she possesses what I would describe as a real, natural talent for cooking. Things just seem to come easily to her in the kitchen. She understands how flavors work together. She can follow a recipe perfectly, but also knows when and how to improvise, and she genuinely seems to enjoy the process of preparing food. It doesn't feel like a chore for her. It feels like something she's good at and finds satisfying. Because of this, we eat incredibly well at home, and I am constantly grateful for her skills. Let me tell you about some of the wonderful things my wife cooks. She's versatile and enjoys trying different cuisines, but there are definitely some specialties that she excels at, and some dishes that have become firm favorites in our household. One area where she truly shines is cooking Mexican food. Mexican cuisine is vibrant, flavorful, and incredibly diverse, and my wife makes some amazing dishes from Mexico. She often cooks Mexican chili, which is a classic comfort food. Her chili is rich and hearty with tender pieces of meat, usually beef or sometimes a mix with beans, simmered for a long time with tomatoes, onions, peppers, and a blend of spices, like cumin, chili powder, paprika, and maybe a secret ingredient or two. It's warming, slightly spicy, and packed with deep flavor. A bowl of her chili on a cold day is just perfect. We often eat it with some grated cheese on top, a dollop of sour cream, and maybe some fresh cilantro and a squeeze of lime. But if I had to pick one Mexican dish that she makes that is simply the best, it would have to be her tacos. Oh, her tacos. We have tacos for dinner fairly often, and each time she makes them, I am absolutely in awe. She makes them properly, taking the time to prepare the fillings and the toppings with care. She uses good quality tortillas, sometimes corn, sometimes flour, warming them perfectly so they are soft and pliable. The fillings vary. Sometimes it's beautifully seasoned ground beef or shredded chicken, sometimes slow-cooked pork carnitas, or even vegetarian options like seasoned black beans or roasted vegetables. But it's the combination of flavors and textures in her tacos that makes them truly exceptional. She makes fresh salsa, sometimes a pico de gallo with chopped tomatoes, onions, cilantro, and jalapeno, or a roasted salsa with smoky notes. She has grated cheese, maybe some authentic crema mexicana, a thin, slightly tangy cream similar to sour cream, shredded lettuce, and sliced avocado or guacamole. Building your own taco with all these fresh, vibrant toppings piled high on a warm tortilla is such a simple pleasure. But when the ingredients are this good, it's an experience. Every bite is an explosion of flavor and texture. The soft tortilla, the savory filling, the crispness of the lettuce, the freshness of the salsa, the creaminess of the cheese and avocado. I genuinely believe my wife's tacos are the best tacos I have ever eaten, anywhere. And I've eaten a lot of tacos in many different places. She just has a knack for getting the seasoning and the balance of ingredients exactly right. It's definitely one of my favorite meals she prepares. Another area where my wife's natural talent for cooking really shines is when she makes pasta. Now, she doesn't just buy dried pasta in a box from the store, although there's nothing wrong with that for a quick meal, of course. No, quite often she makes the pasta by hand. She makes the dough herself, from scratch, using flour and eggs, maybe a little olive oil and salt. Then she kneads the dough until it's smooth and elastic, and rolls it out thinly, either by hand, with a rolling pin or using a pasta machine. Finally, she cuts the dough into different shapes, sometimes fettuccine or tagliatelle, sometimes sheets for lasagna, and sometimes she uses it to make filled pasta. Making pasta by hand is a labor of love. It takes time and effort, but the result is undeniably superior to dried pasta. Homemade pasta has a wonderful fresh flavor and a delicate texture that absorbs sauces beautifully. When my wife makes pasta from scratch, you can taste the difference. It has a certain freshness and tenderness that you just don't get from dried pasta. It makes the meal feel more special, more connected to the ingredients and the process. While all homemade pasta is fantastic, my absolute favorite type of pasta, the one I consider to be pretty much the perfect food, is ravioli. Ravioli is a type of filled pasta, essentially little parcels of dough with a filling sealed inside. The fillings can vary widely. Classic options include ricotta cheese and spinach, various types of meat, like beef or pork, pumpkin or squash, mushrooms, or even seafood. These little pockets of flavor are then usually served with a sauce, which can be anything from a simple butter and sage sauce to a rich tomato sauce, a creamy sauce, or a pesto. What makes ravioli perfect, in my opinion, is the combination of the tender pasta wrapping with the burst of flavor from the filling inside, all complemented by a delicious sauce. Each bite is a complete, self-contained taste experience. The contrast in texture between the soft pasta and the sometimes firmer or creamier filling is wonderful. When they are made well, ravioli are incredibly satisfying and comforting. I remember when we visited Italy, we ate some truly amazing food, and the fresh pasta dishes, particularly the ravioli, were definitely highlights of that trip. Being in the homeland of pasta and eating it at its source was an incredible experience, and it only deepened my appreciation for my wife's skills in making it at home. Moving on from pasta, let's talk about meat. My wife also cooks meat regularly. Like many families, we try to be mindful of our budget, so we often buy cheaper cuts of meat. While expensive cuts like steak or tenderloin are often the easiest to cook well, you just need to sear them quickly, cheaper cuts can be more challenging. They often contain more connective tissue, which makes them tough if cooked quickly. However, with the right techniques, these cheaper cuts can be transformed into incredibly tender and flavorful dishes. My wife is very good at this. She often cooks these cheaper cuts in a pot, using methods like stewing or braising. This involves cooking the meat slowly over a low heat, often in a liquid like broth, tomatoes, or wine, for an extended period. This low and slow cooking process breaks down the tough connective tissues, resulting in meat that is incredibly tender and moist. It just falls apart. Plus, cooking in a pot allows the flavors of the meat and the cooking liquid to meld together, beautifully creating rich sauces. Dishes like beef stew, pot roast, or chicken and dumplings are great examples of this type of cooking. While my wife excels at cooking meat in a pot, I sometimes have a personal opinion about how meat should be cooked, and that's often on a grill. For certain types of meat, especially cuts like steaks, burgers, or chicken pieces, I just think grilling imparts a unique and delicious flavor. Grilling involves cooking food over direct heat, often from charcoal or gas flames. This process creates a wonderful smoky flavor and gives the meat a beautiful char on the outside while keeping the inside juicy. There's something about the flavor profile achieved by grilling that you just can't replicate in a pot or a pan. Unfortunately, we don't currently have a grill at our home. So, while my wife cooks meat excellently using the methods available, to her, part of me always feels like, this would be even better grilled. It's a minor point, of course, and I'm always happy with what she cooks, but there's just something about that smoky, slightly charred flavor from a grill that I love for meat. Maybe someday we'll get a grill, and she can add grilling to her repertoire. But for now, her pot-cooked meats are always tender and delicious. Besides dinner, my wife also makes extremely good breakfast dishes, especially on the weekends when we have more time. She makes really good pancakes, for instance. Simple, fluffy pancakes are a weekend treat. We usually have them with classic toppings like maple syrup and butter. But I have a particular topping combination that some people might find strange. But I promise you it is delicious. Maple syrup and peanut butter. Yes, you heard that right. I put peanut butter on my pancakes along with maple syrup. It's a sweet and salty, creamy and syrupy combination that works surprisingly well. The peanut butter melts slightly from the warm pancakes and mixes with the sweet maple syrup. Don't knock it until you've tried it. It's my little pancake guilty pleasure. But my absolute favorite breakfast in the world, without question, is another Mexican dish that my wife makes, chilaquiles. If you've never had chilaquiles, you are missing out. It's a traditional Mexican breakfast dish consisting of corn tortilla chips, usually stale or lightly fried, that are simmered in a red or green salsa until they soften slightly, but still retain some texture. The salsa is typically made from tomatoes or tomatillos, chili peppers, onion, and garlic. Once the chips have softened in the salsa, the dish is usually topped with things like crumbled cheese, often queso fresco, a drizzle of crema mexicana, or sour cream, thinly sliced onions, and often a fried egg or shredded chicken. The combination of flavors and textures is incredible. You get the slight heat and richness from the salsa, the comforting texture of the softened tortillas, the saltiness of the cheese, the cooling creaminess of the crema, and the richness of the egg, if you add one. It's savory, satisfying, and bursts with authentic Mexican flavor. Every time my wife makes chilaquiles, it feels like a special occasion. It's hearty and warming, definitely the perfect way to start a weekend day. That dish alone is almost enough reason to wake up in the morning. With all these delicious options, sometimes I honestly don't know which I like eating more in our family. My wife's amazing breakfasts or her fantastic dinners. They are both highlights. Let's talk a bit about our dinner routine and habits. In our family, we typically cook dinner at home 5 days a week. This gives us the chance to enjoy my wife's cooking regularly and also saves money compared to eating out every night. For the other 2 days of the week, we usually either go out to a restaurant for dinner or we have dinner with other people, often family or friends. This gives us a nice balance between enjoying home-cooked meals and experiencing different foods or socializing over a meal. When we eat with others, it's frequently with family. Sometimes we have dinner with my wife's parents, my in-laws, who live nearby. Other times we have dinner with my sister, who also lives in the area, and sometimes we manage to get a combination of family members together for a meal. For example, tonight we are planning to have dinner with both my wife's parents and my mother. It will be a nice family gathering. Oh, and speaking of my mother, yes, she is also a good cook. The original script had a slightly confusing sentence about who cooked dinner last night, mentioning my mother. Yes, my mother is also a good cook. But the point is that we eat with various family members sometimes, not just cook at home ourselves. One thing that is quite consistent in our household is the time we eat dinner. We usually have dinner at around 6:30 p.m. every single day, 5 days a week when we cook at home. This is our standard dinner time, and we try to stick to it. It helps create a routine, and it aligns well with our evening schedule. In the United States, where I am from, it is quite common for families to eat dinner together at the table. Dinner time is often seen as an important part of the day for families to connect, especially if everyone has been busy with work, school, or other activities. Sitting together at the dinner table provides an opportunity to talk about our day, share what happened, discuss plans, or just chat and spend quality time together. It's more than just eating, it's a social ritual, a moment for the family unit to gather and communicate. While the formality of family dinners might vary, the idea of sharing that evening meal is quite ingrained in the culture for many. Of course, dinner times vary greatly not just from family to family within a country, but significantly from one country to another. In many parts of Europe and Latin America, for example, people tend to eat dinner much later than 6:30 p.m. In Spain, it's quite common to eat dinner at 9 p.m. or even later. In other countries, it might be 7 p.m., 8 p.m., or somewhere in between. These differences are often linked to work schedules, climate, eating later when it's cooler in the evening, and cultural traditions around mealtimes and social activities. While I understand that different cultures have different norms, I personally prefer eating dinner at what feels like a real or perhaps more conventional time, like 5, 6, or 7 p.m. Eating earlier feels more natural to me. It allows time for digestion before going to bed, and it feels like it fits better within the cycle of the day, after the main work is done but before winding down completely for the evening. Eating too late, say after 8 p.m., sometimes feels too close to bedtime for me. So our 6:30 p.m. dinner time feels just right. To circle back to where I started, I've established that I don't cook well. I lack the natural talent and perhaps the dedication required to become a skilled cook. I look at my wife and it seems so effortless for her. She just has that intuition and ability. While I admire her skills and greatly enjoy the results, I still don't feel a strong pull to become a great cook myself, at least not at the moment. Maybe in the future, I'll make a more serious effort to learn, but I know I'll probably never have that inherent knack that she does. For now, I am perfectly happy being the appreciative eater in the family. I enjoy trying her delicious creations, appreciating the effort and talent that goes into them. I'm also happy to help in other ways in the kitchen, like washing dishes, setting the table, or doing some simple preparation like chopping vegetables, as long as I'm not solely responsible for transforming raw ingredients into a meal. I think it's important to recognize and celebrate the talents of the people around you, and my wife's cooking talent is certainly something worth celebrating. And as long as I get to enjoy the amazing food she makes, I am a very happy man. And just to reiterate something I mentioned earlier, while I love my wife's cooking, I also love eating food from every country. I have a very adventurous palate and enjoy exploring diverse culinary traditions. Whether it's street food in Thailand, pizza in Naples, sushi in Japan, or a simple stew in my wife's pot, I appreciate good food in all its forms. My preference for eating over cooking doesn't limit my enjoyment of food. It just means I prefer to be the one sitting at the table rather than standing over the stove. All right, I think we have covered quite a bit about cooking, eating, my wife's talent, and our family's mealtime habits. I hope this detailed discussion has been helpful for your English listening and comprehension practice at the B2 level. We covered various topics, from specific dishes and cooking methods to cultural habits around mealtimes. Now, it's your turn. I would be very interested to hear about your experiences. Leave a comment below and tell me if you like cooking. Are you a skilled cook, or are you more like me? What are your favorite dishes to cook or to eat? Do you have any specific mealtime routines in your family or culture? I enjoy reading your comments and learning from your perspectives, and it also provides great reading practice for other learners. Thank you all so much for listening to this video. I really appreciate your time and effort in practicing your English. Keep listening, keep learning, and keep exploring the language. I'll see you in the next video.